Welcome to the Brazil Expat Journal, the BJ you can trust. My name's Phil, and I'll be your guide as we talk about life in general here in South America's biggest country. This episode we'll talk to Sam Lee. He's a web designer who runs the company The Creative Donut. He'll explain how it is that he settled in Ilha da Gigoia, a small island in Rio de Janeiro, after years of world travel, and how he manages a career in the digital sector. We'll also talk beer and play the expat quiz. I hope you enjoy the program, but first a tiny bit of news. Well guys, President Bolsonaro's problems just keep on mounting. A recent video of a closed-door meeting has been released by court order. It purports to prove what the recently ousted Judge Moro, formerly Minister of Justice, said was his main issue with Bolsonaro. The president wanted to interfere with the federal police by appointing people to positions that would benefit both his family and friends who are under investigation. In the video, Bolsonaro says a whole lot, but when speaking about his concerns over his family's safety, he states, and I quote, "I've tried to change our security people in Rio de Janeiro officially, and I wasn't able to. That's over. I won't wait for my family or my friends to get screwed. If you can't change the official, change his boss. If you can't change the boss, change the minister. End of story. We're not kidding around." He claimed later that he was talking about his private security, but then why bring up the minister and why give Moro dirty looks while talking about the very subject? This is certainly looking like yet another impeachment brewing. In other news, quarantining in June probably means that my favorite Brazilian festival will not be celebrated this year. I'm talking about Festa Junina, the June Fest. It's a Brazilian harvest festival which takes place all month. It's a lot more laid back and family friendly than Carnival, but still offers plenty of opportunity to get really drunk and go to great parties. Its themes are mostly related to the folklore from the countryside, so straw hats, plaid shirts, and jeans are the usual costumes. But everyone, even in the big cities, seem to get into the spirit. Festa Junina is sometimes even extended to July, with Festa Julinas. Next Friday, I'll post a short video explaining a little bit more about the party, where it started, the typical foods and games, and how to enjoy the festival from home. Hey guys, I want to say thank you to all the subscribers to the channel for supporting my work, and give a special welcome to anyone new who's come on board in the last 2 weeks. Your support drives me to make the Brazil Expat Journal better each time. For any new listeners, to stay up to date on when new episodes premiere, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button wherever you may be listening to the Brazil Expat Journal. On YouTube, it's the little bell. Remember, full-length BJs will be out every 2 weeks. And if you want to support my work, head on over to my Patreon page at patreon.com/philray or click on the links in the description. Your contributions help a lot. Before we jump into the interview, I want to give a special shout out to Sam's dogs. There are many celebrities in his neighborhood. There's Peanuts first, who is also featured in his interview picture, and Enzo. They're too cute not to mention. Hey there everyone, what's up? Good to see you back. This is Phil, and tonight I am talking to Sam. He's an expat from England, from Newbury, England, and he's a website designer here in Brazil. So we're going to be talking a little bit of how to become a freelancer, a digital nomad, work for yourself while living abroad, and a little bit about where he lives in Rio, and maybe even some tips on good beers to drink in Brazil. So hi Sam, how are you?
Hey buddy, I'm good. Yourself?
I'm doing okay. What are you up to now?
I am sat at home in quarantine, obviously, drinking some wine and eating vegan chicken nuggets.
Vegan chicken nuggets, that's sacrilege.
Hi man, I know. Tell me about it. I watched a thing on Netflix, a show called Game Changers, and it ruined my life.
What was that about?
So it takes a look at kind of basically diet and performance from a UFC. One of my friends is a UFC fighter, so it takes a look, and I was quite interested when I saw it come up. And it takes a look at the whole meat versus plant-based from a nutritional view and more of a kind of ecological view as well. So looking at the way the meat industry as a whole affects kind of global climate change and all that sort of stuff, rather than the, think of the animals sort of topic that always comes across on these things. And I've always been into kind of sports, fitness, nutrition. I found it really interesting, and I can't do anything by half. So I started off and thought, okay, well, bugger it, I'll do one day meat free. And then that turned into 2 days, which turned into a week, which turned into a month. And now I'm at 2 months, and I'm kind of like, damn, I really missed my ribs and barbecue sauce. But fuck it, I'm here now. And I've seen some good changes, so I'll roll with it as long as it lasts,
Oh, cool. I watched a movie about maybe 2 months ago called Cowspiracy, which is pretty good too if you're into this type of stuff. Which
Yeah.
it definitely got me to lower meat consumption. I don't know if I'm ready to take the leap and go zero meat, but Cowspiracy, if it doesn't at least make you think about it, then I don't know. I mean, it's pretty intense when you start to see how it really runs and how it really does affect the environment, the meat farming versus plant farming. So that's pretty cool. Let me ask you, Sam, where are you from originally?
I'm from a little town in England called Newbury, which is, if anyone's listening, just outside of Reading, and we're about 45 minutes on the train direct to London. So not too far from London, but far enough to be considered countryside for England. Everything's jammed in close together. It's a small country, right? So,
Hmm.
but yeah, small. What was a market town. Now it's basically been taken over by Vodafone because it's where the European head office of Vodafone is. So everyone in the town works for Vodafone, basically.
Oh, I got you. And what did you do while living there?
So grew up, made a general reprobate of myself, standard. Um, but yeah, basically, I lived there until I went to university the first time, and yeah, it's my hometown, right? I love it. I love going back there and seeing my friends and my family and people I grew up with. But in terms of where I wanted to be long term, it's certainly far off the mark. Like I was always looking to. I loved cities. I loved to explore. So it was for me. I always had my eye of getting out of the small town sort of thing.
And
Um,
how many people in this town, approximately?
Approximately, Siri, how many people are in Newbury? I really don't know, but I am literally typing in Newbury population right now. 153,822.
Oh
Just
my God. That's a
carry on.
little one. Little
Yeah,
town. We got
it is
some
a.
neighborhoods. We have some neighborhoods in São Paulo that have more people than that. And so you got out of Newbury. Did you go to London for, where'd you go to
No,
get a
funny
taste of the
enough,
big life?
unlike unlike most of my kind of people from school that kind of went elsewhere, most of them went into London. I actually didn't. So I don't really like London. London, if you've been there, is just huge. It's huge. It's unbearable. And for me, I like getting out and exploring and stuff like that. And London, if you want to go from one, you can have a friend that lives on the other side of London, and you may never see them because it takes you 2.5, 3 hours to get to them, right? So it's too big and too unmanageable for me. I can't be bothered with spending that much time in transport. So I went and did my first degree in computer science down in Plymouth, which is down by the ocean, which was really cool. And then I did my master's degree in real estate investment and asset management in Reading, which is just along the road from Newbury. And then after that, I just kind of played the game as much as possible. I always had my mind and my eye on going to Australia. My best mate moved to Australia just out of school with his whole family. They emigrated, and that basically facilitated me heading out to Australia and only basically paying for flights. So I went out to Australia. I think the count was 7 times in 6 years, which for a flight from London to Melbourne is like 27, 28 hours. So I've done that flight actually 19 times in my life.
Wow.
Yeah, which is a lot of hourage on a plane. But yeah, essentially I went away to university, bounced back when I got my kind of first real career type job, worked in a kind of property investment portfolio sort of investment kind of thing, and essentially used that. I fell into the categories to get the Australian permanent residency, right? I was working in the right area. I was in the kind of lowest age bracket, not anymore, and all that sort of thing. So I basically used it as a springboard to get me to Australia. But to be honest, selling my soul into like the world of investment, it was awesome for a time. I had an awesome car at 21, sports car and all this sort of stuff. But I hated every single day of work. It just wasn't me. It wasn't my bag. I see it as a time of my life where I was selling my soul to the devil.
When was this? When was this?
So man, this was I guess 23 to about 28. Yeah, about 23 to about 28, 29. So yeah, I did a good few years in that. And then I moved to Manchester with an ex-girlfriend, and that was awesome, man. I spent like 3 years in Manchester. As far as I'm concerned, if I was to go back to the UK, you'd have to drag me back for one. But I love that town.
Go back to Manchester.
Yeah, man, it's just awesome town, awesome people. I've still got some really good friends there, and I tried to go and visit for at least a couple of days every time I go back to the UK because I felt such a connection with that city.
Now, let me cut you off just a little bit. What year was this exactly? Around what
Man,
time?
I really can't remember right this second. Tell
Early
you what,
2000s?
yeah,
Early
yeah,
2000s?
mid 2000s, mid
Mid
2000s.
mid 2000s. So when you're back in Manchester, I mean, you've gone back and forth to Australia. You almost pretty much lived there. What got Brazil into your conscious? Like, what made you think of Brazil?
Well, I went off on a bit of a random one. So I essentially I applied for the full visa to move to Australia out of Manchester. Moved to Australia solo for. I was there for about a year and a half. I decided at that point that I did not want to go to whatever I was doing. I did not want to go back into the world of investment. I had enough by that point. So I got there and I thought, I'm going to take some time out to get some headspace. So I'll go back to what I enjoy doing and working, which is kind of selling stuff. So I just got a job at G Star Raw selling jeans, believe it or not, and I worked there for kind of 6 months to kind of pay rent, give myself some headspace to think about what I wanted to do next. And then after that, basically, I met an Irish app developer. We came up with an idea of creating an app, and we took that idea, pitched to one of these kind of Shark Tanky sort of investment vehicles, like a startup incubator, they're called. Pitched that, won a couple more kind of rounds of investment and stuff, built our app, and then took that and basically the investor turned around to us and said, look, I'm gonna give you a load of money. I reckon you should just it's like go big or go home. You've got an app, you've got a really good idea. It's starting to kind of kick off in Australia. Take it to San Francisco. If it doesn't work in like 6 months, don't worry about it. We'll call it quits, and we're going to move on to the next thing. Fail fast, fail and move on, or whatever the startup slogan is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I went and lived in San Francisco for kind of 6 months, smashed it out. We didn't get the kind of uptick that we wanted. So at the end of 6 months, we were like, fuck it. Let's call it quits, go about, go and move on to the next thing. And at that point, I was like, well, I'd been working in corporate for 7 years and stuff like that. I was like, well, I know I don't want to go back to that. This is the first kind of startup own business thing that, first time I've ever worked for myself. Like, I've really enjoyed it. The journey, the amount I've learned, and the journey was incredible over a couple of years. Kind of, but going. We pitched at South by Southwest, and all these sort of cool things that we did. And I was like, well, what do I do now? Anyway, my sister was going through a bad breakup at that point, so I thought, well, I'll head back to England and hang out for a bit. I get to spend some quality time with my nephew. And I basically lived at my friend's house. We had an absolute ball for kind of 9 months. I just hung out with my nephew. And after a few months, the money started running out. And I was kind of like, shit, what am I going to do? Like, I applied for a couple of jobs, but wasn't really interested in anything. And I thought, well, I'm going to go back to what my first degree was in, which was computer science and web tech. And I'll use all my learnings from the last couple of years in design and, just kind of hacking it and just, starting straight away. Don't worry about all of the kind of little ins and outs. Just do what you can do. If you work out that you can do something that someone else would buy, do it. So I did a load of online courses, sat on the sofa and launched the Creative Donut, which is now my business out here. And yeah, basically it all kind of steamrolled from there. I did about 6 months worth of online learning, different courses, built a really cool little starter portfolio, built a cool little website template. And then I went to a load of my friends, did a load of free jobs to fill out my portfolio, sent about 900 emails out to various different companies in the area saying, hey, look, I'm just back from San Francisco, gave it all the chat. Back from San Francisco, starting up my own thing, looking for new clients. If anyone's out there needing a website, give me a shout. And that's how I landed my first paying customer. And basically every customer I got from there on, I do a little bit more learning. I push myself and kind of built myself into what I was hoping I would be, right at the start.
But how did you end up here though? How did that steamroll into you ending up in Brazil?
So that was a really random one. So once I'd kind of, I didn't want to stay in England, so I knew that. So as soon as I got my first paying customer, it was a ballsy move, but as soon as I got my first paying customer, I was like, right, that's it. I'm off. My sister got into a new relationship with a great guy, one of my old school friends. And I was like, right, everyone's secure. I'm off again. See you later. So I went back to San Francisco. It was like August, late August, early September. Spent a couple of months out there, just kind of backpacked around, stayed in like Marin County and stuff. Anyway, I had this dream in the back of my head that what I wanted to do was go and sit in a lodge in Yosemite and kind of hike during the day and work during the evening, all this sort of stuff. Anyway, completely had not thought about weather or anything like that.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, I was there kind of, I think it was like November at this time. Just, I hadn't even considered it. Like, it just dumbass, like completely now. But I was there, I was like, this guy had come back from there to my hostel, and I was asking him questions. And he's like, honestly, man, unless you've got like 20, 30 grand's worth of like cold weather gear, like snowshoes and ice axes and shit, don't even bother going. Like, I was like, bollocks. So I was a bit bummed out. I went to a really cool cafe where I used to do all my work, opened up the laptop, and literally, it sounds crazy, but my laptop went bing, and the first email that came in was an email from one of these online travel agencies, and it just said cheap flights to Rio. So that was 9 a.m. I thought, fuck it, why not? Weather shit here anyway. I booked at I booked by 10 a.m. I went back to my hostel, grabbed my bag, grabbed my gear, went straight to the airport, exchanged a bit of the bit of cash I had on me at the airport, and flew down 3 p.m. the same day.
That's crazy. So it was very spontaneous, basically. No planning, no nothing.
No plan, no nothing.
Okay.
I arrived. I knew because I'd seen the City of God. I knew that they spoke Portuguese here, but that's
Congratulations.
all I know. All I knew was they speak Portuguese and Rio and City of God. So yeah, I arrived and
When was this? Do you remember what year this was?
this must have been 2015, late
2015.
2015. Yeah, because I arrived and I arrived in
In the middle of a recession.
yeah, but I arrived in boots, jeans, jacket, shirt, hat, as if I was winter in California. And it was, Christ, it was like 38, 40 degrees in Rio. And as soon as I arrived, I was like, man, I just melted. I didn't have any vests, I had no flip flops, no shorts. I just absolutely melted. So I was like, yeah, take me to the mall. I need to get some AC and do some shopping.
And did you stay at a hostel or hotel?
Yeah, man, I booked. So I didn't even know where I was going to stay. So when I arrived, I just went on Booking.com on the taxi ride into town. All I knew was Copacabana, so I set the address to Copacabana, got in an Uber, and as I started going, I just booked online, and then I changed my Uber to go to Botafogo, which is where the hostel was.
I got you. And was it love at first sight? Did you feel good vibe when you reached the city?
No, not really. Not really, to be honest. It was totally different. It was more of a sex appeal of the huge change in culture. Like, I'd never experienced a culture shock like it before because no one spoke English. Everyone in the hostels was either Brazilian or Argentinian, and no one spoke English. And I found it hard to communicate. And after living in England, Australia, US, never felt that kind of culture shock. Never had. I didn't know what to eat. I got here, I was like, shit. Where do I go for food? And the KFC. So I ended up eating KFC for the first couple of days. Because I didn't know where to go, what to eat, what to order, what was the local sort of dish or whatnot. So yeah, it was just a huge culture shock, and I loved it. I lapped that up because I'd never experienced it, and I'm the sort of person where you give that to, and I thrive in that sort of situation. I like to be able to kind of rise to that, and yeah, it was awesome. It was cool. Like, Rio was hot, dirty, sexy. It's loud. It's a beautiful mess, I think is a good way of describing it.
And how long did it take before you felt you got a little bit more settled in?
I'd say a good couple of months, certainly. Like, I was here. I was supposed to only be here on a 2-week holiday from San Francisco. And yeah, when my guy called me to my transfer, I told him not to bother. Don't bother coming picking me up. I'm going to stay here for a little bit. So I just missed my flight back to San Francisco. I think I've still got a bag of clothes there or something like that. But I seem to be losing stuff as I go around the world. Yeah, so I didn't bother catching the flight back. I ended up just staying here. And what really got me, I'm as quite a lot of people that go towards the computing industry are. I'm dyslexic, and it it was one of those things, man, that like the learning another language I'd always thought was beyond me. I'd never considered that I'd be able to learn another language. I did French at school, and all I wanted to do was play my guitar, and I wasn't interested. And then, of course, you stop doing high school, and then all of a sudden, to learn another language, you've got to pay. So, and you do one. I tried Spanish for a little bit, but 1 hour a week lesson, and then nothing again until the next hour the next week.
Yeah,
You gotta learn that way, and it hadn't even entered my mind anyway. When I arrived here, it was the real simple thing of I would go and sit and have breakfast at one of these lanchonettes on the corners, and I'd have my morning suco, and I'd sit there and I'd point to the fruit that I wanted in my juice. And I started learning Portuguese by literally pointing out, and I'd just say, "Oh, it comes to this?" And I'm pointing like an orange, and she said, laranja. Okay, cool. So I'd write that in a little notebook I had on my iPhone, and gradually I built a vocabulary over the first kind of 2 months I was here. And at the end, I had like a few hundred words in there, and I was actually using them. By that point, I was going on dates and stuff and managing to communicate enough at that point. And I thought it dawned on me. I was like, holy shit, I'm learning this stuff. I'm learning these words, and it's actually going in. I'm actually learning, and it's sticking.
it's sticking. Well, you're immersed in it, all day, every day, so that helps a lot. Did you use any Google Translate on any of these dates or no?
Totally. The girl that actually ended up becoming my girlfriend for a long time, we went on our first date, and she claimed she spoke English. It's a total lie. She didn't speak a word of English. I spoke no Portuguese whatsoever, and our first date was entirely Google Translate. I would type it in, show her, she'd type it in, show me. And this was within the first kind of week or so of me arriving in Brazil. We had our kind of first date. And that really helped. We kind of grew and learned together.
Nice.
We would end up speaking, and I'd be asking her something in Portuguese. She'd be replying to me in English, and then I'd reply, and it would just flow really organically. But people would be sat next to us on like the bus or the train or whatever, and they couldn't believe it because it was just completely mixed and jumbled. And, it was great. It was a great way of learning and, improving life and everything here.
This is funny. It's love in the digital age, because I just did an interview with Rod Horton, who over there in Rio, and his first dates were exactly the same. It was Google Translate. Although he did say he went to a restaurant that had no Wi-Fi, so him and his boyfriend at the time just kind of stared at each other and did a lot of mimicking, because then neither one could really communicate with the other. So this was, you say, what, 2015, 2016? You got your business going, right? The Creative Donuts going. And when did you decide? Okay, obviously you decided already that, hey, I'm not staying just for a couple of weeks, I'm staying for a couple of months. But when was it that you said, all right, I'm going to become a resident of Rio? And how were you able to marry your business into that decision?
So it was a long process, man, because I kind of had the idea in the back of my head. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna go to Colombia. I had Colombia in my mind, and I didn't want to stay stuck in one place. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Colombia next, and blah blah blah. Anyway, it got to a point that I was, I don't know, maybe 9 months in, and I'd not made. I kept saying it was just paying lip service. I kept saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna. My friends would be like, oh, when are you going to Colombia, Sam? I'm like, oh yeah, soon, yeah, I'm definitely going. Anyway, at this point, I'd already like adopted Peanut, my dog, and I was just paying it lip service. And kind of after a few months, I just kind of admitted to myself, and I think, well, damn, I think I'm I'm saying I want to move, but I've got absolutely zero ambition to pick my stuff up and move because I'm just having such a great time here. And, I really love my life. My work-life balance was great. Well, it still is. I had a girlfriend, I had my dog, I had an apartment, and I was just like, I think I was always looking for a place to kind of settle, maybe in the back of my mind, but realistically, I was just traveling around, having fun, and without even thinking about it, I'd kind of landed in Rio and kind of built a life for myself, and it happened super, super organically in the fact that kind of I didn't even realize that I knew I wasn't going to go, but I just hadn't actually said it out loud. And yeah, basically I ended up staying here and based really with work. Work was tough when I first got here because working in hostels it's not the one. Hostel life does not go well with being able to focus on your work, quiet, communicate with clients, when your Wi-Fi is going up and down, and all this sort of stuff. But as soon as I got I got a little apartment in the city, and as soon as I got that, the work continued to come in. I continued to build a portfolio online, and I basically, a few changes to kind of the internal structure of my business meant that I was able to kind of really leverage word of mouth and recommendations of previous clients to basically be my marketing team, essentially.
What changes did you have to make now that you are here in Brazil?
Well, it wasn't as much about Brazil because the great thing is Brazil is, well, before Bolsonaro changed the summer what's it called, daylight savings times, we were 2 hours behind in a UK time in the summer and 4 hours in the winter. Now we bounce between 3 and 4, but still perfectly manageable. When I get up, I just set all my meetings for lunchtime UK time. Which means kind of first meeting of the day, I'm up, I'm busy walking the dogs and whatnot, get down, start doing my bits, and then 10 a.m. comes in, and I'm doing my first meetings, and that works really well. But basically, with the what I did in terms of structure wise is I actually kind of realized that doing the new builds of websites and branding and stuff like that is fantastic. It comes in. That's where the money is, obviously, in these new projects. But in terms of making it a sustainable, ongoing, you know your money, you're going to get enough money in 3-4 months time. I started offering support. So I started doing kind of longer term contracts, 6 months, yearly contracts, supporting my current clients, just sending them reports, doing all the updates, all that sort of stuff. And I did it at a really, really reasonable price. But what that meant is when anyone asked online, do you know a good web designer? The maximum time any of my clients haven't heard from me is 1 month, because they've received a report about their website within the month. So I'm at the front of their head, front of their mind, and I see it all the time. Someone asks in my hometown or Manchester or wherever I've been based in the past, does anyone know a good web designer? And like first 5 comments are always my customers. And in that way, I've been able to build this little business, freelancing, and I've never paid a penny for advertising, because I let my clients do my advertising for me, basically.
I got you. And you keep talking about your clients in England. Were you able to get any clients here in Brazil?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So mostly at the minute, it's still, so the Brazilian business is still very new in terms of actually kicking off. But I've had quite a few websites and support and little contracts through these gringo networks. Actually, um, shout out to Weavers. Um, but yeah, I've met quite a few people through online gringo groups, and it's always been a kind of recommendation. I'm the local kind of uh, in-house web designer for these groups, and if anyone has any projects or whatever. So I've done a language school here, which was my Portuguese language school. I've just done that site actually, and that was my Portuguese language school 4 years ago when I arrived. And I've done other bits. I've done three or four or five legal firms, engineering firms, uh, different schools, and all this sort of stuff. But really, this year is going to be kicking on for the Brazilian business because I'm doing a little bit of a different service offer for Brazil, but I've only just got my CNPJ, my license, so it's really going to be opening up legitimately here. Up until this point, it's always been I've been doing work for gringos and they've been paying me via the UK and all this sort of stuff. So very much kind of an international transaction. Whereas now I'm a little bit more settled. My life here is much more settled, and I'm in the system basically. Finally, after months of bureaucracy, I was able to get a bank account and the business license and all this sort of crap that it comes with living in Brazil.
Yes, Brazil's got a lot of red tape.
Tell me about it.
And you speak pretty decent Portuguese. How important do you think learning Portuguese is to having business down here, or doing business down here?
Totally. Johan, I'm looking at you. Um, my one friend that refuses to learn Portuguese. Um, yeah, so I think it's totally. I think if you do not learn and do not throw yourself into learning, you end up, in my opinion, you end up relying on people far too much. Um, and you're missing an opportunity for the sake of being able to communicate, um, and that's everything down from doing business and winning contracts and pitching and stuff like that, down to being able to walk your dog and chat to the local person in the street. And I tell you what, the amount of times that I've been sat there chatting away to someone, and that's led to an intro or whatnot. You just having a beer, and it's so fluid here. I think the whole kind of everyone from the people that I've met, a lot of people are very personable.
Yeah.
So if you've met and made that connection, that's how business is done here. It's very much word of mouth, recommendation based.
I agree
If
with you, Sam. Brazil is a very social country, extremely. Maybe especially someone I imagine coming from England and even America, where we already have a level of social distancing. Uh, Brazil is a shocker of how close people get and how social it is. So much like you, when I came here and started teaching, I made business cards, and I don't think I used one. I can't think of one time that I got business off of my business card, because all of my business was much like you, word of mouth, just be able to talk to somebody over a beer, and then they know somebody. Oh, I know somebody that needs classes over here, and it built with that. It's nice to have an online presence. That's always nice to have, but that traditional way of like, here's my business card. It's nice to have, but I
yeah,
can't say that it helped me more than just being part of the culture, being able to speak Portuguese, being able to be sociable and interesting, and then make business contacts that way and networking that way. So yes, Johan, looking at you, I didn't know he didn't speak any Portuguese. You got to learn some Portuguese to be able to do
you,
business
you
here.
can order you can order a beer.
uh, so I had asked you before the interview, we were talking a little bit if you considered yourself a digital nomad, and you gave the perfect answer because you said, well, I'm not that nomadic anymore, but you still got the digital side down.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I want you to help some of the people that may be listening out there that are considering moving to Brazil. What are some of the tips, maybe if they want to work for themselves, uh, whether it's in a digital platform, which is real interesting, or just in general, if they want to just, offer a service on their own? What are some things that you would say are essential?
Essentials would be, well, the number one rule of going anywhere is always have an escape plan. Um, I think if as long as you've got enough money to buy a plane ticket home and you stick that in another account somewhere and that's then safe, don't touch it, and then that gives you a lot of kind of freedom, both mentally, professionally, but just really it's in the back of your mind. You've got that security. You can then focus on hustling and getting out there and doing the job that you want to do. If you don't have that backup plan, man, stay at home and save up until you do, because if you end up in somewhere like Brazil and you run out of money, there are worse places to be. Iraq, Syria, maybe. But I don't see many digital nomads going there. But yeah, exactly. You don't want to be stuck in a foreign country, not speak as bureaucratic as Brazil, not speaking the language, and not having a cash, pull the ripcord, send me home, please. But once you've got that, I think immerse yourself. Come out here, or go anywhere into any country. Immerse yourself in the local, because that's how you're going to really experience the country, and also gain business. Like, there's only so much you can gain from pitching only to other expats and other gringos, which is great, and you do become like the preferred option whenever you're pitching for those guys. But you're talking less than 5, 4, 3, 2, 1% of the population. So you really don't want to pitch in your idea, your service offer, whatever you want to do, that much. Speak to everyone. Focus on actually kind of being able to converse, rather than as long as I think you can get across your point and have a valid argument and a valid proposition of why people want to work with you, then I think that translates into any language. But you need to spend the time talking to real people, sitting having beers, talking, just conversing with everybody in a language that's not your own, and working out how you do business. So yeah, I think those are some good tips about basically getting yourself a little bit of a backup first, and then jump in with both feet and just hustle, man. Yeah.
No, good advice. And keeping business from your home country while you are living abroad, how difficult is that?
I actually find it really easy, which is I feel very fortunate for being able to say that. But yeah, I've got really strong links and continue to grow these links. It was a little bit difficult in the early days when I was pitching for a lot of stuff, and what I would do is I just wouldn't mention that I was anywhere else, and I'd pitch for business, pitch for contracts, because I'd keep exactly the same hours as everybody. And for me, and in my mind, the way I started this business, I was sat there on a sofa in grey old England, working away, and I thought, well, hell, I'm having a Skype meeting with someone that's literally 5 minutes on the road. I could be anywhere else in the world at this point, and it would make zero amount of difference to my productivity. If anything, it would give me a better quality of life. So I would potentially push myself further. And that's basically how I ran it for the first couple of years. Was that I would pitch a business, and it would just be I would be a voice on the other side of Skype.
Cool. So yeah, it doesn't make much of a difference if you're sitting on the beach. In fact, real quick, I want to just get into something, just changing subjects real fast. I found out recently that you live on a small island. So how did that happen? Can you give us a short version?
So yeah, just going back to the other point. So I think location independent
Uh
is
huh.
is a good acronym, good kind of word for that. But
Yes.
so the island, man. Basically, I was living in a tiny, tiny little studio apartment in the city, and I was actually looking at upgrading and getting an office, and working from an office to kind of work it out that way. Anyway, that didn't fly because no office in Brazil would let me bring my dogs in, so that was a straight no. And basically this my ex was looking at on Facebook. And she said, "Oh, I found a place. It's in Baja, and I don't know if you know Rio, but Baja is like west of the city, and it's extremely. It reminds me of like International Drive in Orlando in Florida. Like it is just like block, 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 either side of a really long, busy road. And, you need a car to get around because everything's so far apart and all that sort of thing. And I was like, oh man, I really don't want to move to Baja. I don't want a car. Like I love driving. I love my cars, but I don't want to need to have a car. I want to be able to crawl home from my beer. I don't want to have to, book an Uber and come back and pick up a car the next day. Jesus, I'm not savages. Anyway, um, so yeah. Anyway, she found this place. She's like, look, it's right next to the metro. Now the Olympics have been built, it's in a tiny little part of the gigantic Baja, and it's on an island. I was like, okay, that sounds pretty cool. So she got to catch a boat to get to it. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm in. Definitely, let's go see it. That to me, that was just like, yep, on an island, close to the metro station, man. Yeah, and you got to get a little boat. Wicked, I'm in. And I just came here, fell in love with the place, and it's super cool, man. It's basically like living in a little village in the middle of a city. So I'm 2 minutes from the metro station. The little boat is, you can throw a rock from one side to the other. It is that small of a gap. But basically, we're in the middle of a little lake here, and there's about 2,500 people on the island.
Yeah,
Are you getting a lot of the feedback? It's really raining here.
yeah, you sent me the picture. It was real beautiful. By the way, guys, I'm gonna put the picture up. If Sam sends it, I'll put it up right about now. If you could see how the island looks, but it looked really nice. Although you're kind of stuck there with 2,000 people, I thought it'd be like a little bit more remote. But if the people are nice, seems
Yeah,
like a
man, I love it because it basically, like, I've got a lot of friends that live in kind of Zona Sul and stuff like that, and those are the main kind of gringo hubs. But like my friends, they don't know any of their neighbors. They don't speak to anyone in the like local area or all that sort of stuff. For me, it's the small things that make a huge amount of difference to my life here. And like I walk my dogs twice a day. I say bon dia, bon tarde, bon noite to everybody, and everybody's really friendly. The dogs are out, all the dog mums and dads are out, and the dogs are all playing in the street together. I go and have normally when we're not in quarantine, I sit down and have my breakfast at the little padaria, my coffee, and then I come back and start work.
nice.
And to me, having that option, I'm really good friends with some of my neighbours as well. Having that kind of small little kind of
Well,
everybody, you're meeting people, you're saying hello, and all
Sam,
this sort of stuff.
Sam, I
Yeah,
think it's interesting you say this because in the beginning of the interview, you talked about how you wanted to explore, but you didn't want to move to a big city because I asked you if you moved to London. So it's cool how you were able to find that. You were able to explore. Obviously, you're in Brazil and Rio, but you managed to still keep that community feel. And I think that's so important for expats who sometimes think that moving to Brazil means you have to live in Zona Sul, which in the last broadcast with Rod, he lives there in Copacabana. You know that that's like the main tourist strip, Ipanema, Copacabana, like the stuff that most people see in the movies is from Zona Sul, or even São Paulo is a really big city. I think in the beginning it may be easier for an expat because you do have more infrastructure. You have maybe contact with other expats, so it's sometimes it's easier and a little bit safer, quote unquote, to move to the bigger cities before you get settled in. But Brazil's huge, and cities in Brazil are huge, and you can have different flavors of life depending on where you live. So I like that, when you mentioned that you lived on this small island because it was something different. Most people aren't willing to take that risk of moving outside of that comfort zone. So that's really
Yeah, I
cool.
think yeah, I think you're right, and I've got loads of friends that are in that kind of zona sul, you know, thing, and it's kind of when you move here, especially if you're moving here for work, usually you'll get put up in Copacabana, Ipanema, Leblon, that sort of area. And you find that you actually only end up socializing with other expats. So, your language doesn't come on as quickly. And, I didn't move to Brazil to hang out with, Americans and Europeans, you know. Okay.
Exactly.
I,
Oh,
I
that's
want,
so cool that you say that. Yeah.
I'm selfish. I want to experience everything, and that's why I like I found my little niche. I think in living in this island, but still being 15 minutes on a train to Copacabana, and 10 minutes walk from the beach and all that sort of stuff. Like, I think if without finding this island, I think I'd have probably ended up moving on by now.
Hmm. Yeah, because
Bold word.
because
Yeah.
no, but I totally understand you because you travel so many miles or kilometers to get to another country just to get more of your own country. It seems counterproductive. I felt the same when I moved down here to São Paulo. Well, didn't well, basically I moved down here to São Paulo, and I think it was my first week here, and a friend of mine takes me to a neighborhood called Vila Madalena here in São Paulo, which is I guess the Lapa of Rio, or Lapa is the Vila Madalena of Rio, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. Similar neighborhoods,
Yeah.
the Bohemian neighborhoods. Anyway,
Mhm.
I went to a bar called Morrissey, and there was a Guns N' Roses tribute band on, and I got so upset. I said, I can't believe guys. I was on a plane for 12 hours to come to Brazil to listen to Guns N' Roses at Jim Morrison's bar. I'm like, come on. Like you come down to hear some pagode, some samba, some forró, enjoy some caipirinhas, really get into the Brazilian culture. It's varied and wide, and there's a lot of layers to it. And some of it you'll like, some of it you won't, but at least try it out. Because then why leave home, right? stay,
Well,
stay,
yeah,
stay.
exactly, and I like that. Brazil it's all those things. It's crazy, it's dirty, it's loud, it's beautiful. It is a hot mess of a country, but I absolutely love it. Um, and yeah, I think it's a great mix, and it's never boring. It will drive you mad at some points. You'll be sat there and you'll fall in love with it at other points, but it's never dull.
It never is. But you gave us a little bit of a segue because you were talking about all the good stuff and the bad stuff and everything about Rio and Brazil in general. Everybody that comes on this podcast plays the expat quiz, so I hope you're ready. I hope we don't
Fantastic.
hope we don't say anything that will lose you any future business.
No, of course not. Go for it. Go for it. Be gentle.
I'll try. Yeah. By the way, guys, before we do the expat quiz, though, I do want to mention that Sam Duh is a website designer. Check out his website, thecreativedonut.com. He's also on facebook.com/thecreativedonut. his page is really impressive. And at one point, I thought that Sam actually made donuts. This is a
Man,
long time ago. When Brazil had no donuts. You don't understand the pain I was going through when Brazil had no donuts. Now they actually make some decent donuts. And then I saw this donut page. I said, oh my God. And but he's not a donut maker. He's not a baker. He's an actually pretty awesome web designer. If you go check out his page, it's really fucking awesome. So check it out. I'll put links in the description of the video so you can click on there. And let's help each other out, fellow expats. Okay, so expat quiz. Here we go. Answer these questions truthfully, honestly. Don't think too hard about it. Let me know, number one, what is the best thing about Brazil? Now we're moving out of Rio, just Brazil in general. What's the best thing about Brazil?
Live music. I love my barzinhos. I love going and sitting and watching live music, cold beer, little bar. That's just life, man. Hot.
It is. And it's not expensive to do. And number two, of course, what is the worst thing about Brazil?
Bureaucracy.
That's going to be a popular answer among the expats. Yeah, guys.
Yeah. To get what I like to say to people when I first come here is like day to day is super mellow. It's cool. It's not too bad. But when you come to do something that's like life admin, sort of you need to do a bank thing or you need to do something with your tax or something like that, man, it is a ball ache.
It is. Meditate in the morning, bring a book, do something, take some Valium. It's complicated. Number three, what is your favorite food down here?
My favorite food, man, I've just watched this fucking thing and gone vegan, so I'm gonna answer as if it was like 2 months ago, and I'd actually say coxinha. I love them. The little chicken coxinhas, incredible. And certainly I think that was one of the top 5 reasons I actually stayed here after the first couple of months of being here.
People really love these coxinhas. They're like these little stuffed, what would you call it? Like, it's not a pastry. It's just like this fried thing with meat inside, and is it mashed potato? I don't know. It's weird. But I
think it feels to the Western palate. You try it and you think, that's chicken wrapped in deep fried mashed potato. Amazing. Yeah. But it's not mashed potato. It's like some sort of maize or one. But it tastes exactly like.
Yeah, it's addictive. And number 4, what is your least favorite food down here?
Oh, I know this for sure. It is camarão com casca.
Camarão, the shrimp.
Yeah, but in the cases. So in their shell.
Oh yes, this is very common down here. They were just talking about this in an expat group. How they don't really take the shell off the shrimp. Yeah. Savages. Honestly, yeah.
It is. Oh, I can't even bear it. It's just, yeah. You need to do that. You need to take the case off,
especially when you go to the street markets, and sometimes they have the little shish kebab with the 4, 5, 6 shrimps on it. Yeah, they don't take all.
You got the leg cases, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, eyeballs. Ugh.
Okay, and what is the best drink, alcoholic or non? Although I feel you're gonna go with the alcoholic.
Of course. Well, I mean, since our location, I'm going to say caipirinha de uva com...
Grape caipirinha. I've never had that.
Grape caipirinha with basil. Manjericão? Is that basil?
Oh, manjericão. It's basil, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this was a specialty of one of the restaurants on the island before everyone went into Corona lockdown, and great caipirinha with basil, and it is beautiful.
I'm gonna have to try that. I've never had that before. Now we're gonna take a little side journey in the expat quiz, and real quick, give us your top three Brazilian beers. What are the ones guys people have to check out if they come down here?
Oh, I love my artisanal beers. So number one on my list is, it's a strong one, is Hocus Pocus Magic Trap. So Hocus Pocus is the brewery, Magic Trap is the beer. It's a 9.5% golden ale, Belgian golden, and it is beautiful. It will knock your socks off, but it doesn't taste too strong. But man, is it alcoholic.
Okay.
Number two.
Wait a second, Sam. Just after you're finished each one, just give a little pause so I can put the picture up of the beer. So here's the Hocus Pocus. All right, and what's your next one?
Number two would be my daily drinker, which is Praia, which is my go-to, on offer in Mundial currently. Praia is I believe it's a Rio-based beer, but it was the beer of the Surf Open maybe a year or two ago, and that's just a beautiful, beautiful beer. Not quite as artisanal, about a third of the price of the Magic Trap, but it is really good.
Cool. So here's our prior beer. And what would be your third beer?
Third beer would be anything that is a red Irish ale. I love my red Irish ales, and there's quite a few different ones available. But certainly, if there's a menu of different beers and there's a red Irish on there, I jump on that. So any red Irish from small breweries that you see, go for it.
Cool. I've had a red ale. I don't know if it's the same as the red Irish ale, but red ale from Baden-Baden, which really knocks you out. That beer will knock you out. Very delicious.
Yeah, Irish red ale.
Yeah, very delicious. I gave that to John Kirk, a friend of ours, for his birthday. And John can drink pretty much like it's water. And even for him, he was like, man, that one knocks me out. You know, after I get one of those bottles down, it'll put me down for a little bit. But really delicious, the Baden-Baden red ale. All right, guys, so those are some beer tips. By the way, Hocus Pocus, is that a Rio-based beer?
I believe so. Yeah, oh, cool. I believe so. There's certainly there is a microbrewery in Botafogo that they have here. So nice. It's a hotspot for them.
And I'll give Devassa a shout out because I do like their, if you're looking for like a more popular beer, that's not Skol, Brahma, which are the really popular brand beers. But I didn't mind Devassa when I went to Rio. I don't like all of them, but I really like the, is it the Ruiva, the redhead? The redhead is a little bit more flavored up. You know, so if you're not looking to spend as much and just see a beer that's everywhere, is Devassa. That's a very popular beer up there in Rio. Now, moving on, you want to say something? You like Devassa or you hate it?
I like Devassa. It's from up north, I think. Devassa's everywhere in like Sierra.
Oh, nice.
When I was kite surfing up there, everything's Devassa up there.
Yeah, it's not as easy to find down here in São Paulo. They do have a Devassa bar now on near Avenida Paulista. But it's not one that you see everywhere. Every bar, actually a bar across the street from me carried it for a while, and he said it just doesn't sell. So I don't know, for whatever reason, Devassa just never hit it off in São Paulo. But I know when I went to Rio, it was everywhere, and it was pretty tasty. All right, back to the expat quiz. I want to know now, what is the best place to visit? We're talking all of Brazil here. Best place to visit.
Oh, man.
Just pick one.
I'm not going to say my island. I don't want my island being full of load of gringos. I would say of the places I've been, Parachi has got to be one of my favourite places because you've got beaches, you've got a bit of kind of jungle, safari, exploring in the back of a 4x4, lots of cachaça, lots of cachaça. America, and yeah, and the what this is going to be a big claim here, but what I would consider certainly one of the best Thai restaurants that I've been to ever. So Thai Brazil in Parachi, really worth it.
Is just north
I would go
of Rio, right? It's a little bit north of Rio? Or am I getting my
south.
geography wrong?
It's between São Paulo and Rio.
Cool. I know of Parachi because of their jazz festivals. They have a lot of famous jazz festivals and book festivals too, literature festivals, which usually have jazz in them. So a lot of people end up in Parachi for that. It looks like a beautiful little city. I've never been.
Yeah, it's one of the oldest towns, I think, in certainly in the state, maybe in the country. But it's part of the old gold trail. Where they used to ship gold out from and carry it inland. They used to carry it from Minas Gerais over into Rio, and Parachi was the port where they would come in and pick up the gold.
And moving ahead now, I need to know what is the most overrated thing or place or both in Brazil?
Overrated. Overrated. I would actually. This is another claim. I would say Lapa is overrated, because it may just be that I'm old now, but it is just a load of absolute mess, and everyone goes there. Every time I've been there, I've had my credit card scammed or something like that. I've never been robbed there. I've never been robbed in Brazil straight out. But I do think Lapa is somewhere you've got to go at least once, but then you probably never want to go there again. It's decent, but there's much better places available.
I feel the same about Vila Madalena. And again, if you guys didn't catch what Lapa is a neighborhood in Rio that's considered the bohemian night spot. So all the artists and the cool people and everybody like that. Put quotes around all that. Go there for the nightlife. And Vila Madalena in São Paulo is a very similar neighborhood, and everybody said, "Oh, Phil, you gotta go there because I like music, I play guitar, I do this." And man, it just didn't do it for me. It's not a bad place. I'm like Sam. Nice to go once. You should go at least once, but there are way better places to hang out. So I've actually never been to Lapa because people said it's like Vila Madalena. So I was like, you know what? I'll skip it.
Especially in summer when it's tourist season, right? Because it is just basically a load of backpackers acting like wankers, smashed out of their minds. And it's kind of, that's great, but I live here. I know better places to go.
And well, that leads us to the next question. What is the best place to visit in your city?
In my city, my island.
On your island, okay. Oh, your island is the best place to visit. I'm going to go visit your island. That looked real nice.
Come, honestly, it's wicked. It's super cool. What's
the name of the island again?
Ilha da Gigoia.
Vila?
Ilha da Gigoia.
Ilha. Okay, Ilha da Gigoia. Cool. And I'll get a picture up of that because it looked real nice. And
loads of bars and restaurants and stuff like that, and it's just super chilled out. It's like you come onto the island and everything's slower paced. It's really cool.
And what would be your favorite artist or band?
Oh, that's an easy one. Charlie Brown Jr.
Charlie Brown Jr. He was like what? It was kind of like a pop rock. Like, how would you describe his music? Because I remember.
Rock. I'd say rock / pop punk, kind of a Sublime, Green Day sort of Offspring sort of influence. But yeah, like really cool. Died before his time. Rock star, all that sort of stuff. Great lyrics. But yeah, I mean, I'm massively into my rock music, and yeah, Charlie Brown Jr. Definitely check out the top 10 on Spotify. Well worth it.
Yeah, I dug him. A lot of skater culture, I think, too. He was big among the
Yeah,
skaters. A lot of his videos had a lot of skaters.
yeah, totally.
And to round out the expat quiz, what would be your biggest warning or advice to people coming to Brazil?
Um, watch out for the gringo hunters, the chicks that are only after gringos because your pockets are big.
Yeah, they're looking for that. What do they call it? Maria. There's a name for it actually. Maria something. Maria Cartão or Maria Visa or something. I forgot. But they're only looking for like trying to get that green card, trying to get that visa, or
Yeah,
trying to
right.
get that greenback, as we call it. Trying to get some of those dollars or euros. So yeah, you got to be careful, guys, with that. But I forgot there's a term for it in Portuguese that I completely forgot. Well, Sam, I want to thank you for coming on. You are awesome.
So thank you.
Definitely awesome. And guys, make sure you go to thecreativedonut.com. Check out his website, check out some of his work. And also on Facebook, it's facebook.com/thecreativedonut. If you have any other questions or if you want to connect to Sam, leave something in the comment section and I'll figure out a way to get you guys in touch. Okay.
Mm.
Any last words, Sam?
Not really. So it's been fun, mate. It's yeah. I'll have to. It's on the cards for me to come to São Paulo this year. Certainly when this all this coronavirus is over. So certainly looking forward. We can hang out, and next time you visit, come visit the island, mate. It'll be fun.
Have you ever been to São Paulo?
Never, never.
Never. Oh, you would love it here. I'll show you around. You show me around Rio. I've been to Rio twice, but you can show me around a little bit. And but you'll have fun if you come down. You have a good time. All right, guys. So thanks for listening. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, help your fellow expats out. And that's about it for now. Goodbye. Thanks for listening to the Brazil Expat Journal, the BJ you can trust. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and hit the little bell on this YouTube page or on whatever page you may be listening to this right now. And if you want to support this show, please consider becoming a Patreon at patreon.com/PhilRay or heading over to my PayPal page. You'll find the links in the description. On the next episode, I'll be talking to Renee Adolfi, also known as Prandara Prem. She's a psychotherapist who discovered Tantra in Brazil. We'll go into what Tantra really means and the unique aspects of dating in Brazil. Also check out some of my other content on this YouTube page. Phil in Brazil. There are movie reviews, ESL lessons, music, and even some UFO footage. Thanks, and see you next time.